Hey, it's Scott and Rita again. We're doing a cosmic dialogue, and this is after much conversation about the time when all was returned to us and what that was like.
And anyone watching can include themselves in the us.
Yes. So, because we knew way back before there would come a time where all things would be returned. We knew that that would happen, but we never felt our way through it, and we never really had a dialogue from that spot of when it did happen. So we're
Yeah.
going to do that. See what
And
happens.
and it being returned implies that it was taken.
Yes. From external forces.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was that we realize now that these things being returned to us was a natural state. This was like our old feelings of comfort in the lack, and comfort or settling in that lack or fear or um, lack of knowledge, lack of compassion, lack of um, currencies.
There's another word instead of comfort.
Complacency,
Yeah, just sort of, well, this is how it is.
resignation.
There it is. Yeah.
Um, yeah, our comfortability with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want me to tell you start, or would you like to tell us how all that happened for you and what happened when all of it came
Um,
back?
okay, I'll go.
Okay, I'll supercharge it too.
All right. Yes. So the world went into further lack, and we had already been saying and feeling that everything that had been taken would be returned. And so we had been feeling that for ourselves personally for a while, for years for me. And as the world became in greater lack, as people started losing their jobs and losing their loved ones and their incomes, we were feeling very abundant. We were seeing evidence of things being returned to us. And but then we had to look at our own trust in that and our worthiness of receiving, while others felt that they were on the verge of being destitute. And you and I had felt it for a long time, like 1 or 2 decades of having things leave us without, no matter how hard we tried and what kind of creative solutions we came up with, it just would not result in abundance for us. And so it started to make sense that we would feel the abundance of things returning before everyone else as well. So yeah, how did that part go for you?
Well, when we started having this realization, it was very interesting, astonishing. I almost didn't believe it. Um, and yet there was like this feeling that I should not doubt it. Stop! Don't doubt this. Don't downplay this. Because when these things first started happening, and we first started having this realization, was when you got this nice beauty mark on your eye that actually like makes you, in the end, made you look younger, more striking.
It just appeared out of nowhere. This thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My dog came out of her sickness and she's been thriving without medication. My income became more consistent, and I was like taken care of throughout all of this ever since like before the virus times of my car would break down. I'd get a check from an insurance company to get the next car. I'd find a car 2 blocks down the street for my van and get reimbursed for my old car. It was like everything seemed very easy for me. I would feel like I barely worked, and all of a sudden I'd made more money than the last week. And all of a sudden I had like a nice cushion in my savings account. So it was really interesting. Those things started happening, and then also I felt more of a comfort and an ease about my own walking in the world. And it was like that came back to me after I chose to really separate. And it's always about this counter practice. When the world goes one way, I just have to turn my focus and go the other direction. When the world gets so focused on politics or division or well, we don't like that this person is doing this, and then the whole world just spins out of control about it. And I just sit back and ease and like think the world is great. And then by choosing to walk against that, this is when I start to get into that space of things just returning to me. So we really had to start thinking about that, about midpoint in the corona experiment that everyone was going through. And while everyone was worried about our stores opening up, are we going to be able to eat in restaurants? Are we going to be able to go to churches? And when all of that was just rolling around, as soon as I said that doesn't matter, my own experience of ease, and you were the first person who like coined that term, and working for the beauty of God, that's what's important to me. As soon as I just turned away from all the other things that were going on in the world, that was when all the abundance started flowing in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then it would start flowing in. So, and then all of a sudden, you sold a few more soul circles, you got a large contract, and you had some soulmate energy coming back in. I'm not going to like divulge too much. Let's just say you had some soulmate energy coming right back in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just decided this is normalcy. This is normalcy. This is what God intends. This is not just counter practice. It's not just us having to feel guilty about it. This is normalcy.
You're right, because it was hard to go against that massive energy of fear and anger and chaos and disjointed everything in the world just being very different than anything we had known before. It was difficult to not feel guilty being okay.
Yeah, I remember how nasty things were getting. Just
Mm-hmm.
nasty things people would say. The whole "how dare you go and take a visit out of state? You're going to kill people."
Mm-hmm.
And I had to realize that if someone that I needed to be just as, not just as, but I needed to like really pair that nastiness with a grandiosity. of my own truth,
Yeah.
but not in a way of fighting it,
Right.
but in a way of just pursuing my own truth with as much um, intentional joy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't to fight that, it wasn't to counter it. It was just that, as if I saw that example of something kind of wanting to inflict that kind of pain and that kind of damage, um, then my normal reaction should be now step more into that joy, step as much into that joy as possible as you can.
Yes. And we started seeing the results of that. Um, and they were just becoming very obvious. To feel confident in the truth of what joy brings, what appreciation and gratitude brings, versus fear and anger and believing what people tell us rather than what divine knowledge tells us. Believing outside sources rather than our own bodies and our own feelings.
Our own results from our experiments.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one, just to really start believing the results, and just saying, well, this is normal.
And it was so interesting because science was we weren't getting truth from science anymore. And right at the same time, you and I were doing our own experiments and seeing evidence of the results. So it couldn't be disputed. And it didn't, anybody could ask and learn, but we were just going to live the results for ourselves.
And it didn't matter if people tried to dispute it. It was this, our results were our results. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, Scott, you're doing this, this, and this. How can you do that? And I'm like, well, look at my results. I'm the healthiest I've been. I haven't been sick for a year. I haven't taken allergy medications now for how many years? I haven't. My eye floaters have changed. My vision is improved at past 50. My dog is off her medications completely. My, you know, everything else in my life is now feels upgraded,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of the world is telling me that the things that I'm doing are going to deplete life.
Yeah.
Everything that science and the voices from science is often just controlled by the predatory class.
Mm-hmm.
The prevailing science is just part of that predatory control.
Whichever science is most profitable. And it doesn't even need to be based on science anymore. It's
Right.
just whichever results you want to say that is the science.
Yeah.
There aren't even experiments or trials anymore.
Yeah, and it's profitable or even equitable from a power or political standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the sciences that come forward,
Mm-hmm.
because they are part of that prevailing predatory class. But you and I
Yeah.
have realized that the more we've detached from that, the more we see truth in the real things about science are like experiment, control, and results. I mean, our
Yeah.
whole experiment has been like going counter to the prevailing predatory systems.
Mm-hmm.
And here's our evidence after going through countless experiments.
Right.
So,
Rita, what's going on with your eye? Aren't you going to go see a doctor? Why would I go have somebody mess with my eyelid and probably destroy whatever it is that's going on that my body is repairing on its own.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's very.
Or
Go ahead.
or Rita, why don't you put some eyeliner on the other eye so it doesn't look so weird, and mask the incredible, exquisite functioning of my body so nobody can see what happens as a result of this, whatever it's doing.
Right. Right. Just so that you can be more palatable to the outside forces. Oh, you're more symmetrical. Now you're acceptable and you're palatable, and we can explain that easily. Or now I don't have to like talk about or wonder why one of Rita's eyes has this really great eyeliner look.
Rita being palatable is just
Yeah, or you know, can't you, Scott? Like, can't you like say something where you actually are more palatable to mainstream folks? Can you tell us the last time you took a medication or went to the doctor for this? Why don't you? Yeah, it's interesting,
be upset, be angry, be with us.
right? Be in lack, be fearful. Aren't you afraid that you haven't had a colonoscopy yet? You're 50.
No mammogram. Ah.
What do you want to know? So it's just fascinating, and the more I see that, the more, I don't know, my heart just changed when I knew things were coming back to me. The more I see that, the more I don't. I mean, I feel compassion for folks who are going through fear. I feel compassion, but I
Yeah.
don't have a need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a need to fix anyone. I don't have a need to correct anyone or to combat anyone. Those feelings are their feelings, and they're blessed feelings. You have to feel through them. God knows we felt through ours.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we felt through ours
And some of theirs
and
until
some of yours.
I stop.
um, and now for us, I think it is very much the time just to feel through abundance.
And
Maybe the
yeah.
example of that for us first, for God. The world can decide and choose if
Right.
we want to follow that or not.
Yeah. And accepting ourselves. Like I started to accept why I was feeling so tired, because healing takes energy. And we'd been through a long illness.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big reason why I was like, yeah. The one funny thing too is when I was like really realizing this was then when I felt like I needed so much sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and I would wake up really late in the morning, almost noon sometimes, and then I would go to work and I would still create that income that I had created before when I got up at like 7 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like some sort of divine power working in me saying, Scott, you're going to rest. You're going to rest, you're going to heal, and then you can use that 4 hours of time you still have left rather than 8 hours, and you're going to feel the same abundance in the 4 or 5 hours that you felt in the 8 or 9. And
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
There was an efficiency that started happening with me, and
Efficiency. There's a word.
yeah, I didn't have to spend as much money on groceries or as frequently. That was another really interesting effect that I saw. As much time as I go spend at grocery stores delivering and shopping groceries for people, for myself, I didn't have to go so much, and I always had food, and I always just fixed something for myself, and it was like there was an efficiency going on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Efficiency in my consumption. Um, but I think I got off the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That's another metaphorical feeling. It's like I stepped off that wheel,
And what is that wheel
like the hamster wheel
of?
of okay, you've climbed one ladder of the rung, you feel really good. You're climbing another ladder of the rung, you feel really good.
Mm,
And then you realize, oh, I'm just going in a circle. But then there's another rung on the ladder, and you're there and you're good, and you're there and you're good. Oh, I'm just going in a circle.
uh-huh. Okay.
These temporary um, points of fragmentation that everybody feels, or these temporary little bits of motivation, how we kind of feel like, yeah, we've been chasing cheese, little bits of cheese for all our life, only realizing that we've been chasing the cheese from the predatory class rather than claiming the abundance or making our own cheese,
Mm-hmm.
getting off that wheel.
The full abundance of the universe, all the gifts God offers all the time. We've been looking to the predatory class.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Little crumb here, little, yeah, just a little chunk of cheese. If you really want to feel good, we'll give you some cheese.
Yeah. Yeah. And the little tricks too that would happen. We saw the little tricks now. It's like, oh, I had a really cool psychic dream, and for a while, people would really like feel very interested, and that would really stroke our ego, and we'd feel good until something else happened, like the coronavirus, or the next disaster, or the next thing that we had to worry about, the next election,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was the focus, and so it was not only just our motivation, but our focus was all thrown out of proportion based on this.
Yeah.
So everything that we would consume, be it like through all of our senses, that was we realized that they really wanted to control all of our sensory experience in the world.
And I feel the term is disaster happiness.
Mm.
That it fed an addictive craving, each disaster, resulting in happiness, even though it's really destructive.
Interesting.
False happiness, as an addict feels a false sense of well-being when
Right.
the drug is in their system.
Oh, we got through this. Oh, we all pulled together. Oh, that's such a great feeling. That kind of thing.
Yeah, we
Um,
conquered whatever it was,
mhm.
or we
Um,
are. With the war is still going on, so we're taking care of it.
we're persevering. We're doing our part. Um, yeah, and it just the it's just chasing cheese. Disaster happiness, yeah, and that addictiveness of we almost needed that ambitious, crazy cycle of ambition and letdown, ambition, let down, and we thought that was normal.
Yeah.
How, looking back, I wonder how really we thought. Well, we had to go through all the things we went through to see these things. Because it's a process. You don't just break through overnight and step off the hamster wheel overnight. You have to go through experiments, and you have to go through all of your own stuff. And
Mm-hmm. All your programming, false beliefs, fears, addictions. Yeah.
Yeah.
The world was being pushed harder and harder towards doing that and resisting more and more and more. And so obviously we're never going to win against the universe. So yeah, it just had to get worse for each person. Had to reach their point, their rock bottom, to go, wait a minute, I don't want to be in this anymore. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm done.
Yeah. Or you kind of realize that like so much of the other stuff has been taken from you. And like you realize, wait, all this stuff is taken from me and I'm supposed to feel a certain way, but yet I have something here in the core that still feels untouchable.
Mm.
And that's when I started following that.
Because there's nothing left to lose.
There's nothing left to lose with that.
Then you know what you actually have.
Yeah, and then so even if it was something as crazy as one little thing about like society thinking that Scott has crazy little dreams, I could have that to hold on to because that was mine. Completely mine.
Mm-hmm.
Given to me as a normal gift to me. So I think that was the key. It was like, oh my gosh, the more the world puts everyone in fear, the more I have to really open myself to the gift of life and to see that abundant gift in all of it and realize that I am part of that gift. In a grandiose way, I have to like actually step in and say, yeah, I'm part of this grandiose gift of life. And should be normal. This will be normal. This is more than normal. This is joyous. This
is normal now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the mindset that came about. And then everything just started returning for us. We could call it miraculous, but we know that miraculous is just normal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And I think our challenge is always like, we are still on the stair step. We're not necessarily on a hamster wheel, but we're still on a stair step of wonderment about what happens when we have things returned to us. We're still pleased and joyous and
it's like being on a hike
amazed.
And you're going up the hill because you want to and you're enjoying it and you want to see what's around the next bend and you see a ridge coming up and you want to get up there even though it's hard work and it burns calories, burns your resources. You want to go see what's over there. And then you reach the vista and you would revel in it and enjoy it and have your lunch and just, and have a good time. And then you see another ridge. I wonder what's over there.
But I think the difference is in knowing that ridge that you want to seek and that next ridge is not about an external achievement, but it's just about reconnecting what's already in your soul, what you already have inside you that is also that. So.
And curiosity, that's a big soul quality.
Yeah, my soul stretches out to the whole horizon. And if I deeply desire the fullness of my soul in all of those, it doesn't matter if the rest of the world is rooting for me or not. That's not the motivation that I have to like get to the next peak or the next vista on a mountain. It's just more of like this wondering of like, where else is my soul? That's what it feels like for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can be in that space, in the midst of a coronavirus.
Yep. Imagine when things are going good.
Well, we have to realize too that things are good.
Yes.
This is not happening
Good.
to us. This is happening for us.
Mm-hmm.
There is a goodness. There's a blessing in
Yeah.
this, in what is happening. And do we decide to focus only on the painful part, or do we focus on the fruits? I mean, I'm sure it's not very pleasant for a cell that's dividing to divide itself. I mean, I'm sure that's a little bit of a painful process. You know, mother's going through labor. It's not necessarily the most pleasant feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
wondrous.
wondrous, and the creation of life happens. So a new world's being created during, or was being created during this coronavirus situation. A new world was created.
Yeah.
Many folks just focus on the pain of the laborious birth. Imagine if every woman on earth decided, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this, it's too painful. We would just all go extinct. That's the metaphor of like if men could give birth, the whole human race would go extinct because we would never want to go through that pain.
Yeah.
So
well, there's a whole category of masking the pain, making it more convenient.
yeah. Oh.
And what that does in the long run to the one who is birthed. And what it takes away from the woman who chooses to not feel all of that pain.
Yeah. There has been an upsurge. I've even heard this during the coronavirus, the upsurge of women wanting midwives again, so that they can actually be more connected with that birthing process outside of the medicalization of it. So,
yeah.
And so I think now going forward, it's like everything, little disaster that could happen, you know, it's almost laughable. It's like, okay, bring that in. We'll just create more abundance. So bring that in.
Wasn't it wonderful getting confident in that?
Oh.
That was the best.
Yeah. And it was wonderful actually not feeling connected to other people's spite for that. So that is, I think that we realize now that that was such an easy emotion for people to choose when they felt a little uncomfortable. It was conditioned, you know, feeling spiteful to someone else who has, and we're not even talking about monetary abundance. Who has abundance? You should feel spiteful towards someone who goes against the grain, who has happiness that you don't have.
You're strong enough to not wear a mask.
Yeah. Strong enough to not have to like follow a typical Western medicine path for certain situations. I won't even call them ailments anymore. Rita didn't have to put on makeup on the other side of her face to be palatable.
because I was being rebirthed and I was glad of it.
Yes.
I didn't even need it to go away.
Yeah.
It was here for whatever purpose. And
Mm.
I would learn the purpose and see the results, whatever those were going to be.
Right.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
And feeling through feelings of maybe insecurity or embarrassment or whatever might come with something like this for anybody else. Those are gifts.
It's almost as if we speak now as if we are cancer survivors, because we have a lot
The
of
world was loaded with cancer. So
yeah, and like those some of those folks who actually are cancer survivors who actually speak to folks who say, I've been trudged through the mud and I'm in a lot of pain and I lost all my hair, and then the cancer survivor comes up to them and just holds their hand and says, good. Looks them in the eye with just love and compassion and says, good. And those are the folks who actually can identify with some of the things that we say. Oh yeah, I've gone through cancer. I've gone through this, and I now see that as a blessing in my life.
Yeah.
As evidence to change and to grow and to live. I wasn't living.
Right. And now the whole world is different.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I still get sad. I still get upset, and so I still don't want to be disliked. But it doesn't hurt me so much. I put myself in my own self-compassion, and then I have compassion to others. Others who may misunderstand when I step into joy. It's not about me saying it was joyful for you to lose a loved one. No. That was painful. And part of this humanity experience we have is to go through pain, and it is hard.
And one of the gifts can be more connection to the spirit realm because you loved that person and you want to have that connection. Whereas if they were still here, you wouldn't even consider that.
Yeah, and it's all kind of like, what do we do with that pain? Do we choose to let that pain put us out of alignment with divinity, the world, with life? Or do we use that pain to allow us to be more in touch with our soul, ourselves as like eternal beings, who we lose to be more an eternal being? I mean, pain is just a messenger. We can use that, and it is hard. It hurts, but we can use it to help us become more abundant.
Yeah.
I don't know where that went, how it went that far. Yeah, so I almost, the world will go through pain again and again and again. It will all go through pain. This has all happened before. We'll experience it again. But joy is something that we can always choose. And that's when we can get the return. And hopefully, eventually, we can really show the predatory class that what they're going through, they're eventually going to experience. What they're putting on others, they're going to experience themselves.
Oh. I'm sorry for him now.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tumultuous temper tantrum once they realize that they're going through that. Yeah, so that will make, well, we've said that before, that'll make coronavirus look like summer camp when the predatory class once and for all realizes that they're doing these things to themselves, and they feel it all themselves. That'll be a big tantrum. Huge tantrum. Beautifully huge tantrum. Joyously happening tantrum.
Yeah.
But after that, once that happens, we'll already have experienced our own return of so much anyway, we'll just be there to be compassionate.
And when does pain end? When we each become so sensitive to the signs that we're headed out of harmony with love or truth, but it doesn't have to get as far as pain. We just feel it, or our body shows up with something minor, and we actually pay attention to it and discover what the cause is before it gets to the point of pain.
Yeah. So much of predation relies on us denying that part of this natural process of our body or our emotions actually showing us signals and giving us messages and us actually listening day by day, rather than, oh, that'll go away. Oh, that'll go away. Oh, keep doing what you're doing.
I'll go to the doctor to make it go away.
Yeah. We have a fix for that. We've created that and we have a fix, and
then we have to fix the fix.
Yeah. And we realize, wow, there's been a lot of fixing for things that really weren't problems that could have just run their course. So.
And if we just accepted the truth of ourselves, the truth of our physical selves, our emotional selves, and how it's connected.
Yeah. Our eternal selves, our soul selves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that became very, whatever happened in the mathematics of the universe, it became very obvious when, with physical signs to results. So as we had said for a long time, the dots were getting connected much more quickly. And that's what helped people understand that, oh yeah, this thing that happened to my body, that had a cause that was spiritual and emotional, not something to be treated with medicine.
Right.
Or something invasive.
And then our natural state is to be, our body wants to be naturally efficient. Our body naturally wants to be youthful.
Mm-hmm. Energetic.
Vital.
Regenerating constantly.
Yeah. And so these experiments are for ourselves too. And so we will be called outliers when we're in our hundreds, and you'll be saying it for that too. How did you get to be 100? I was just more honest.
That's all it takes. You look like you've been beat up. You don't cover it. You just go be honest about it. You don't color your hair. Cover the wrinkles. Just go be honest and let yourself be as incredible as you are.
Right. And those experiments of like stepping out and doing that, then all of a sudden we see these things happening. So Yeah, I haven't dyed my hair for a long time. Every once in a while, and just when I'm having fun, I do it. For fun, I'll do this, but
Hmm.
not to mask anything. So, um,
Isn't it funny that all this occurred when masks became a physical, tangible, wearable in the and visually uh, obvious, rather than just all the other ways we mask ourselves.
yeah, such a and looking back, you just realize, oh, that's just a natural manifestation about the world.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Rita's beauty mark, everyone was focused on their own masks, and all of a sudden they started wearing them, and they were told
It's
they were
perfect.
requirements.
It's perfect.
We're so ingrained in our own masks anyway that why wouldn't they just come forth and be put on our face?
Mm-hmm.
The opposite is also true. I mean,
Yep.
we can fill ourselves with more joy, more life, more vitality, and that will come about.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything else about when things were returned to us?
Yeah. Just it, back then, we just hoped that everyone could understand it could be so easy.
Yeah. There's an ease. There's an easy river.
Yeah.
It's really, you won't believe it, but it'll happen. There's
Mm-hmm.
when you stop just sort of questioning what's happening. When you're like, oh, I've done something kind of really weird and it's new, it's different. You realize that, and then if you just stop questioning it for a moment of time and just accept that as real, then you'll accept the next thing that's real
Mm-hmm.
and just see what happens.
Yeah. You won't have to fret. Just
No,
go with it.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks everybody else, all 20 people or two, I don't know. So, all right. Thanks, Rita.